Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Mental Health Awakening. And today, me and Angela are joined by Shay, and today's topic is unresolved trauma. Shay Knight Speaks. So I'm really interested about today's episode and to be joined with Shay as well. So Angela, over to your introduction.
I'm Angela Jackson, licensed professional counselor with national certification in Tennessee, the USA, partnering with the UK. I'm glad to be here, excited to hear our guest today speak. We're going to allow her to introduce herself.
Thank you both, Mason and Miss Angela. I am very pleased and excited to be here with you both today. I am Shay Knight of Shay Knight Speaks. I started speaking to encourage people. Someone spoke to change my life. So I decided to speak to change and put some inspiration into other people's lives. I speak as in on mental health, childhood trauma, speak to the youth, speak to women. And it's been a journey, and I'm allowing God to use me on this mission that I'm on to inspire and to give people hope, to be a voice of hope and inspiration.
Well, welcome to Mental Health Awakening. We're so glad you're here, and you do exactly what you said. You're definitely motivating. You definitely show up. And, you know, in all of the areas that you name, mental health, the childhood trauma. So we want to hear about you. Well, your topic is unresolved trauma. Tell us a little bit about that.
A part of my journey, Miss Angela, on this self-discovery to myself and understanding my relationship with my daughter and getting the proper help to cleanse my mind, and understanding everything begins in the mind with the thoughts and the things that you think daily, and realizing that the word crazy does not mean that you're crazy. I tell people I love to be crazy. Crazy means that it's just unfamiliar to somebody else. It's just not this level of being understanding it or knowing it. It's out of their area, their comfort.
Yes.
So I tied it all back to when I was talking to my therapist. Once I got tied into a therapist, that I went to the root of what was causing my frustration, my anger, my out of character. And it led back to my childhood, to where my damage occurred, where I was molested, where I felt abandoned. Whereas we were kids, we hear those things of adults, that peers that are supposed to be caretakers of us, and we absorb all that in. And you continue on with life, teenager, adulthood, and I'm still holding on to that same hurt. I'm still in this placement of when the damage occurred, realizing that it was unresolved in my life. I never gave real complete soothing to it. I never faced it. I continued to run from it, went to masking, went to pretending, because I didn't want to face it. But it kept poking at me. It kept being at me. It was like David and Goliath. I had to face that giant. And I had to work to resolve my unresolved trauma that had occurred in my life, dealing with not blaming. I went to the blaming. Everybody did something. If it was society, if it was this person, that person, I was angry, but it was inner me. It was the inner me that needed correcting. My mind needed some type of healing to it. And I went to the unforgiveness phase, unresolved trauma. That was basically where I realized that this was coming from. So I worked very hard and went digging and researching and on this discovery to, let's work to fix this thing. Let's work to correct me. Nobody else. I don't have to change anybody. Let me change me and everything will begin to change. And that's where that came from, about the unresolved traumas in my life and the individual's life, because we'll carry it on. It'll be a burden on your life and you'll reach adulthood. I'm 42, but now I'm free. I feel like I'm still I went into heal my inner child, the child that was hurt, that was damaged, that was broken, that was disappointed. And I built a relationship to allow the inner me, the inner child in me to understand that you're safe in my body. I'm safe in that harm can't be as it was then. You're protected. You know, I give love to love to myself. I make sure I remind myself daily that I'm wanted, I'm accepted, I'm loved. And it's a condition, it's a thing that you do every day. It's not going to be a snap of the finger thing. It takes, I'm working through 40 something years of programming, and I'm changing, understanding the conscious mind and the subconscious mind, and putting new habits and patterns into place to discover the new me, allowing the new me to outlast the old me, and welcoming in the new buds and the new blossoming of this beautiful person that I didn't used to see. I didn't believe that I was worthy of where I am now, and that I was deserving of the greatness of things, because I had those blocks in place. I put those blocks and those barriers in place because of what the hands of a trusted individual did. And that put me not being able to trust individuals along my path. I was angry. I put this pretending armor on that I was tough, but I was broken. I was weak inside. But here I am now today, able to help other individuals understand where they coming from with this block or this wall that they keep hitting, and not understanding why. We got to work to correct. Let's go back to when it first, you can remember when this change and phase in you began. When did this damage or hurt begin? When did you first start feeling this feeling of fear? Fear was the main thing in my life that took place over me. Fear was in control of me. What those people did, the men did to me, it was in control of my life. I didn't have control. So it was like I had to realize that I was this warden of this prison, and I had the key. I had the key now. I was a complete adult, but I was still in that phase of this 5, 6, 7 year, 10, 12-year-old little girl. I was still this little girl, not realizing I had to just take the step. And I had the key to unlock all the doors that I had put myself in, this prison that I had put myself in. See, I tell people, you're not always in this prison of you thinking, if you're passing by and you see these big walls of people that are put there and done a crime and committed. You've also placed yourself there. You committed this crime to lock yourself in, and you have the key to free yourself. But I didn't understand it till now. I understand that, and it's my job and my mission to help others along the path. I tell people, I'm not a problem solver. I can't solve problems, but I can give you steps to help you resolve your unresolved trauma and set yourself free.
Yeah, thank you for sharing, Shay, because I'm just listening and like enjoying what you're saying, because like I think it's really good that you like you help others from your own experiences, and I think it's good. And like I know why you like you name like your brand and like Shay Knight Speaks, because you're a very good speaker.
Thank you.
You're very good to for very good to get people to listen to you, I think, as well. So that's me just listening and enjoying what you're saying, and like I love that you like want to help people from your own experiences and just get the word out there.
Yes, absolutely. We're the best teachers. You went through something, experienced something. You know, God teaches us to tell your story. Your story can be the best GPS, best roadmap for someone else, because you went through it. You can't go through life and not do something and tell somebody else about it if you haven't been there. You haven't experienced. So yes, that's what I'm all about, trying to do to help another one. If I can just help one person a day, Mason.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's the goal, isn't it? Just to help one person, like because we don't know like who we're helping doing until maybe that person comes forward and says that
Right.
you've helped me today. Yeah, sharing their voice as well, because it is hard to share your voice, isn't it?
It is. It took what happened to me. I realized now that when I went through the process of going through Les Brown's Power Voice, I didn't know power voice. And as I took the course, I understood I was gaining back control over my life, and I was gaining back my voice because I silenced my voice when I didn't understand why I felt different. You know, I broke my teeth when I was a little girl, about 10. And, you know, as a child, that scars you. So I'm already scarred from these hands of these individuals that I trusted. And then I was taller than everybody, Mason. People looked at, you know, all my friends were shorter than me. So I felt like that. And then my feet were bigger than most people. But now I'd be like, I got these big feet to walk in big places in life.
Mm.
Yeah, so I embrace it. I embrace everything that someone once took from me. My voice was silenced. It was took. But now I speak out, and I speak out to let other people know, let that voice out, let it out, be free, release yourself. Those hands, those people that hurt, that pain, allow all of it to be your stepping stone, your pain to your purpose, pain to purpose, your purpose of life. You wake up every day amazed that you have the eyes to see all the beauties that the universe has waiting for you. You have a purpose to be here, whether it's for you to understand it's for you and to know that it's for somebody else. It's somebody else for you to plug into and to help another, help someone be the best version of themselves.
Shay, you have spoken volumes already. I appreciate that. You've made so many great points, especially when you talked about the feelings and the emotions that came along with the place that you were when you were stuck. You mentioned shame, and something that I share even in therapy or with clients is that trauma and those feelings of grief go hand in hand. And a lot of times you cycle through the different emotions and you can't tell why you feel what you feel and when you're supposed to feel it. And they just they don't come in any certain order. You cycle through them back and forward, front to back, and no one can actually dictate to you how long you will grieve or when it's time to stop grieving. So if I could sum up what you said, I would say journey. You know, people need to understand that healing from trauma, it is a journey. It is a full-on process. And you mentioned going to therapy. Tell us a little bit about that and at what point you went to therapy, because culturally, there's that stigma and people are hesitant about actually going to therapy.
Yeah.
During my journey of being in Les Brown's Power Voice, he mentioned something and it stuck with me. You ask for help to stay strong, not to stay weak, not to stay broken. There are people that are willing to listen and to help you. And at therapy, oh my goodness, at first I was trying to be resistant because I was trying to always, keep it in, because people get it confused that telling your story, telling your business. Telling your story and telling your business, it's the difference. And we sat there and I was resistant. I was listening to her and people like me, we label things. We got an issue with labeling. So I was labeling being in therapy as somebody that wasn't me, like mental health. I labeled it as somebody that walked around sad or with a hoodie on or big clothes and just, guess what? They look just like me. We are high functioning people. We look normal. We carry on normal lives. But in our minds, we're fighting and battling something daily. And until we can realize how to release it and cope with it and to embrace it and put all those things in a bag and say, hey, I got it with me. But guess what? They don't have control of me. I got control of them. So back to the question that you were asking me is, in therapy, I sat there and I finally, in the second session, tears just started bawling. And I went ahead and I opened up and I said, nobody else is in this room but me and her. I'm going to share it with her. And I was telling her my story of what happened. And when I can remember, and I just started traveling. That was a fear. That was a fear I had of going back to that moment, going back to that. And in this moment, she gave me a Kleenex and she told me, it's okay. I've been there. And finally, somebody didn't say, I didn't hear the words of, you're too beautiful to be stressed. You're too old to go through these things, or that's in the past. Let it go. I had somebody that was compassionate with me, that was willing to listen and let me just boo-hoo, snotty nose, and get it out. What has been bothering me and troubling me, what has been keeping me like, ashamed or embarrassed, or feeling like I punished myself for what someone else or some other people did to me. I was punishing myself. And I was only a kid, I was only a child, but I've been punishing myself all this time. I had been running from things that had been chasing me, and it finally caught up to me. And I finally stood up to it, and I took control of it. Now I had power over that thing. That thing didn't have power over me. And guess what? I was afraid of nothing. I was running from this thing that I thought was just going to make me look like this monster to the world. But I'm beautiful to the world. It's like Clark Kent and Superman. I think that's his name, right? Clark.
Yes.
Oh, no. Therapy released so much, and it helped as I just told her my story and what was going on. And we went to the root of it. And going to the root of it opened up so much more. Or why I was feeling like this at this moment, why I was emotional at this moment, why I was crying myself to sleep, why I wasn't sleeping, why some nights I just didn't want to sleep, or why I was constantly taking on 3, 4, 5 jobs. I'm telling myself it's to make money and to provide for my family, but it was really because I didn't want to ever sit down and sit still with myself.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to be by myself. I always wanted people around me, or I wanted to be here. I wanted to stay busy. People call you a busybody, and they thinking, yeah, you're doing this. They don't know what you're really being a busybody for. You're really running from something. That was my story. And I settled down, and I started listening to my inner child that was been trying to tell me, I'm still hurt. I'm still broken. You're still trying to carry on, but we hadn't fixed this thing yet. And therapy opened up another level to me, and it set me down to know that, hey, it's nothing wrong with not being okay. There's nothing wrong with you. And I felt relieved. Weight just come off of me, and I felt like I've been running. Therapy allowed me to welcome back in Shay Knight. I had been going by LadyLegs and sometimes Adria, but I didn't want to hear Shay Knight. Shay Knight was who was broken. Shay Knight was who was molested. Shay Knight was who was hurt. Shay Knight was who was missing her dad. Shay Knight was angry at people. So I didn't want that. Now I embrace it, and I love it, and I'm pleased to just share Shay Knight with the world, and that allow each and every other individual to share who they are, be who you are, and love every bit of you from the inside out, from the inside out. And therapy,
Yes.
nothing to be ashamed of with therapy. Talking to someone, because you deal with things every day, all day. And when you're trying to be successful or career, you're dealing with things. I mean, you're still dealing with people. And I learned in my research, they're the greatest people that people don't understand. Bob Proctor, he had a therapist. Oprah Winfrey. There's always good for people to talk to somebody. We pile on things, but we don't forget to take off some things. We want to continue to pile on, continue to take on, and we feel brave about that. I guess sometimes you got to shed something like a snake. Some things have to die or go into this place of removing for some things to grow, for new growth to take place. And therapy helped me. Therapy is awesome.
Yeah.
You could be the spokesperson for therapy in that therapeutic relationship. You described that beautifully, how the therapist was compassionate. There was no judgment. There was someone that you could relate to. And the reality is that most therapists develop their business practice out of their own experience, out of their own pain. So I would be apt to say that she really could relate, you know? And as it relates to trauma, we may experience things as people overall in different ways, but the hurt feels the same, you know? That there's that level of hurt that feels the same, and it's just universal. Nobody is exempt from trauma. Nobody's exempt from mental health, you know? And I like to share with people that counseling or therapy should be a part of your self-care. It should be a part of your self-care. People talk about self-care and they automatically think hair, nails, massage, but your social self-care is important. Your circle, your support system, professional self-care, like you mentioned, going and going and going. There is a such thing as high functioning anxiety or avoidant behavior. You're moving constantly to avoid what's really on your mind. And like you mentioned, that inner child, and having to touch that inner child and say, okay, you're safe today. We're confident, we're comfortable. Come on. No holding me back today. But yeah, definitely. Say that again.
There will be triggers.
Yes, that's triggers. That's it. That's it. So seeing therapy as self-care is very important. I'm glad you reached out. I'm glad you shared that.
Thank you.
I think it's really good what you're saying. Like it's good to talk about it, and because about the stuff, because so like people do hide their feelings and how they feel, and don't speak out sometimes, and it's hard because you often find if you don't speak out about something that you're really struggling, that it'll make you all hot inside and feeling even worse. So yeah, I agree, and like thanks for sharing, Shay, because like having a therapist, a person to talk to, is very important.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So Shay, what would you say? Like you mentioned before that you have certain tips, but I want to ask you this, because a lot of times if a child discloses that there has been sexual abuse or inappropriate, maybe threatening behavior, whatever the situation may be, what would you say to the parents of these children who actually work up the courage to tell?
What would I say to the parent that may have a child that works up the courage to tell them?
Yes, that they've been molested. Mm-hmm.
Definitely embrace. Definitely have open conversations with your children to allow them not to feel like they're doing something wrong. Because sometimes we get caught up in the moment as parents. Value is important. There's withdrawals and there's deposits. Be a listener. Sometimes there are things that your children are telling you that we miss because we're so hyped up in our own worlds of things. Definitely don't avoid it. That's number one. Don't avoid it. Listen. Even adult people want to know, do you hear me? Do you see me? Did you understand what I said? We already, as a child, I can relate as how I was, we're afraid. Something is going to come out of it in trouble-wise, bad. We get caught up in the word bad and not understanding sometimes bad can work out for your good. But my main thing that I would tell the parents is to listen to your child, be open with your child, hug your child, love on your child. Definitely don't put them in the feeling of being a victim. You want to embrace them. And I wish that someone had let me know that I wasn't the one to be punished. I wasn't the one to be punished. I wasn't the one that done something wrong. And we're going to get help. Us as a family, we're going to get help. Not just help to my child, but us as a family. Because we hurt together. We're all damaged from this. Because it also, from my experience, it wasn't a stranger. It's somebody within, either a family member or a close friend. And for me, I had to continually see these people around. Then as I got older, I had to see their children. And as an older adult, I'm like, I wonder, you just wonder things. You try to control your thinking. I wonder if they did that to them, or if somebody's doing it to them. I wanted to scream and tell them, their children, to help me. Or it hurt, especially if they were people that you loved and they were around, and not knowing what your father done, to me or whatnot. And always listen and pay attention to your children. Hear the signals, hear the signs, and notice the pulling back from certain things, the silencing of things, or the voices, the anger, the frustration, because we don't really know how to react. So this anger, because we get to blaming. My thing was, I got to blaming my mother or my grandmother or whoever, because I was like, you should know. And in my mind, I'm not knowing that they may not know. But to me, I'm feeling like you should know something. So be alert and just be aware and have a relationship, with your children, to have them open, not feeling like, because we as people, as adults, we feel like because we're an adult, we are in control. But you have to understand to be understood, and interact with your children and embrace it. If they come to you, embrace them with love and care, because a part of us, I'm speaking from my inner child, a part of us has been taken. A part of us has already been in a position of damage, and to be neglected or feeling abandoned, or like we're not, accepted for what I just said to you, that right there, that's a lot of pounds on whatever it is that's already been hurt. Yes, ma'am. So yeah, that's what I would say to parents.
Those are awesome tips. It's a space where, if your child is angry for what would appear to be no apparent reason, that needs to be explored. Usually that anger is the secondary emotion. Being mad is the secondary emotion. You have to consider what could have been felt first. Was it confusion? Was it sadness? Was it misunderstanding? Was it the guilt? Was it the shame? And it's like a child or a toddler. When they don't have the language, we say, use your words to little kids. When you don't have the words to say, you act out, you stomp, you scream, you pout, you throw tantrums, you do whatever you can to get someone's attention, because something is going on and I cannot express it the way I need to. And that's what happens is, sometimes parents will notice, my child is not quite herself. She's, as you said, bad. She's acting bad, right? She's acting out. So if she's acting that way and there appears to be no reason why, that needs to be explored. So you've identified some great suggestions.
Thank you. We see it as a problem child instead of a child with a problem, a child that is asking for help. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I think it's always good to speak about like these things, and it's always good to be honest, I think, as well, because the more we hide our emotions or take it longer to get to the truth, things like people see things, and like if a person knows you very well, that they see something's not right, and then if you say nothing like I'm fine, I'm okay, you kind of play on that, and you kind of want to maybe forget something that's happened.
Yes.
When you know at the end that it will come, like it will kind of have to, like, because you can't keep all those emotions in all the time. With any sort of like trauma that's happened to anyone,
Yes.
it's hard. Like it's hard to tell other people, because you're in your head, you think you don't want them to see you in a different way. That they see you, that they don't want to see you in a different way. That you are now, or so it is hard. Like you have to, I suppose, you have to really, I would say trust, but you have to feel like that they're going to be nice about these, like how you're going to come across. They're not going to be mean. Understanding is the word, I think.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Mason, you said something powerful, and that's trust. So as a child, we have people, we have, these pillars in our lives that we believe we can trust, right? And so when there is that violation from somebody that you can trust, that just that takes a child through a whirlwind. But you're right. It's hard to be vulnerable when you feel like there's no one there who can listen. I like to, as I mentioned before, I like to help people build support systems, even if it's a close teacher, even if it's a mentor. If you're able to find a parent, let's say there's a friend that you have and there is a parent that you can trust, find someone that you can talk to if no one is listening, but yeah, that vulnerability is tough to push through when things that appear or seem private, those kinds of things are private. We're taught certain things as kids. Sometimes, I'll say sometimes. And when I say sometimes, I can talk to women, I can talk to men, and they may say, well, nobody really taught me about anything specific to sex education or my anatomy or relationships or good touch, bad touch, and all of this stuff. And so a lot of times we trust until something actually gives us a reason not to. So it can be difficult to talk about those private things and then lay some vulnerable things out there. So as the posts say, sometimes it's complicated. It can be complicated.
It's good you say that about sex education, because in schools and when you're young, it's all, no one takes it very seriously, do they? Like in schools and everything, it's all a big laugh. And like it's very serious, isn't it? Because there's lots you have to learn about. And although it may be a funny topic, but it is a very serious one as well. But yeah, like I feel like it does need to be more taught, I suppose, better maybe. Taught in a better way, that you can have your laughs, but making sure that everyone who takes away, who's there, to take something from it, that they've learned something in a good way.
Yeah. I remember going through a class, Shay, and one of the professors shared a story that, and it was about counselors helping children and clients to be more honest. And also it would have been befitting for parents because it talked about, teaching kids the power in their real name, making sure they really know their first name, their last name, and also what their private parts are, right? Some people don't, some kids are not taught that, your hands are private, your mouth is private, there's other private parts to your body other than what's underneath your clothing, okay? So the story that was shared was about a little girl who tried to speak out about being molested. And she was telling the story, but she was not calling her private part by its name. She was saying, she called it her purse. It was her purse, right? So what she was telling was that such and such touched my purse.
Yeah.
And because she was not using the right names, or, it wasn't something that an authority figure could readily understand, it appeared that, nothing was happening. And she was doing the best that she could with what she had. So I would say that it is important for us as parents to talk to our kids about anatomy and to call it what it is. Because if there's a difficult situation, if your name is John, tell me your name is John. I don't want to hear your name being called Boo Boo. Or these nicknames. Kids go to school and all they know is their nicknames. So I have an emergency and I don't know how to help you. And it's not their fault. They just have not been equipped with the terms. And that becomes important, especially as it relates to your body, things, when things like that happen. So that to me, that story was impactful because, as I said, she was doing her best to reach out and share with someone that she was being touched inappropriately. But in an evaluation, it was, like you mentioned, having to dig deep and having to, be with someone who can understand your story. You need someone to prompt and probe. Okay, tell me about your purse. What do you usually, there should have been more questions because this child was trying to get some help.
Yeah. Yes. Us as parents, we have to find a comfort in being uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
From talking about certain things because there's an uncomfortableness, but you got to be comfortable being uncomfortable, and talking about some things and find that comfort. And the environment is everything. The environment that you're in and the state of mind for that environment to fully develop and grow, understanding each other as a parent and a child.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, Shay, tell the listeners and viewers what you have planned for the future for Shay Knight Speaks.
Oh, you want me to give you the long version or the short? No, just kidding. Shay Knight Speaks. I plan for it to be on multiple platforms. I have a nonprofit tied to Shay Knight Speaks that helps individuals with mental health and childhood trauma. Also distributing to high school students for college funding. Shay Knight Speaks will be around the world together with a team and allowing other people a platform that will allow other people to speak. And you don't have to be in this formation of saying that you're famous or you're at this level that everybody knows you, because we all have a story. I want raw, uncut people that can find themselves welcoming in an environment that is welcoming you to share and to tell your story. It's phenomenal. It's like I was saying to a friend of mine, okay, you know how the book Napoleon did for Think and Grow Rich, and he went to all these successful multimillionaires and put together this book of how they're success-led. Well, I'm gonna do the same thing, but it'll be with those that have different levels of mental health and issues of traumas, and showing readers and viewers how you overcame it, how you gain your power back over that thing, how you busted down the walls. And then along that, someone is going to read it. Someone else is going to set themselves free from these walls of these prisons that they place themselves in, one by one, day by day. And together, each individual, it'll not only be a Shay Knight Speaks, it'll be a Sarah Thompson Speaks, it'll be a Angela Jackson Speaks, it'll be a Martin Ward, whoever speaks, and to inspire and leave their mark and imprint on someone else's life, to be legendary, make that dash dance that's in between, in between numbers on that tombstone. What did you do while you were here? It's not how long you live, it's how you choose to live. And to live a fulfilling life is to help someone else.
Yeah. Thank you for that, Shay, because I completely agree. Like, we'll hear, it's the aim, isn't it, of life, just to help someone else, just to help them with their journey, like help them overcome things, help them speak about things that they may not thought they were going to speak about, certain things in their life maybe a couple of years ago. So it even takes time, even for us. Like, it takes time. It takes time to speak about things.
Time. It takes time.
Yeah.
So Shay, tell the listeners and viewers how they can make contact with you.
By email at Shay Knight Speaks at gmail.com, which is SHAYSPEAK. Say that again. SHAYKNIGHT SPEAKS at gmail.com. And Instagram at Shay Knight Speaks, and Facebook at Shay Knight. And there's a Snapchat also. I changed the name to Shay Knight Speak. So several places. Each individual can contact me. I'm willing to listen, to hear their story. I'm willing to share more of mine and give some steps more into it, to how I can be in that. But you have to be understanding that each individual has to be willing. You have to be willing to set yourself free, willing to let go of the past and not let the past have a hold of you. You have to be willing to be ready to take this step. It's just a step. Just like Martin Luther King said, you don't have to see the whole staircase to take that first step.
First step.
There, you'll begin. It don't matter what it looked like Naomi and Ruth. Wash your face of your past. Wash your face. It does not defy you. Nothing of the past defies you. And you just take that step. And your next step could be the next step into the greatest version of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Shay. Like, because like I said at the beginning, like, it's been really nice just listening to you. Because I suppose I could listen to you all day, Shay, because like how calming your voice is and how you come across. So and I agree, like, with everything you're saying, and hopefully we'll be able to do this again. Like,
looking forward to.
Yeah, we'll do something again together, Shay, because we could even do a speech or something, couldn't we? for mental health awareness, maybe. But thank you, Shay.
Thank you. Thank you. I really enjoyed myself, but thank you for the opportunity. Today, being with you, it was a manifestation that came true. On my Facebook, Mason, you go look at it. Years ago when I created my Facebook, I was one of them people that didn't want anybody to really know where I was from. But I put that I'm from the London, United Kingdom. And on my Instagram, I put I'm an international speaker months ago, long time ago. Now today, look at this.
Yeah.
Here we are.
here we are. Here we are. We're speaking over here about a meaningful topic that needs to be spoken about more often, I think.
Yes, society puts a stigma on it, but mental health is real. Mental health, you can deal with it, and don't let it deal with you. There is peace within it, and together, as we're doing, speaking, advocating, yeah, we'll get there.
Yeah,
we'll get
lots of things do need to change with like all these stigmas out there, but if we have more people like you, Shay, I'm sure we'll get there.
Absolutely. I agree with that. This has definitely been a mental health awakening and a great contribution to the series, because it's true. We need to normalize these difficult conversations, and this is a great example. So I'm excited. I'm glad you accepted to join us.
Thank you. Yes, I am absolutely thrilled. I'm on the journey of understanding that if we can put a help to something at an early age, a youthful part of the life, so many will go through the older phases of life and don't have to wait as long as I did at 42 and be relieved of so much and have more control over their mental health or their childhood trauma that will then continue to lead into other formations of things that are holding you back when you're feeling stuck. Go to the root of that thing and start it early in childhoods. Yeah, it can give another relief. It can help.
Yeah. And well, yeah, I completely agree, Shay. And like I said before, now we've actually done a podcast together. Sure, we'll do many more things together.
We will.
Yeah. What was that, Shay? It just cut out for a second.
I need to catch the flight.
Oh yeah, you do. You have to come over. Come over, or it's easy enough. Like as we're doing it now. Yeah. Long flight.
That would be awesome.
Yep.
That would be awesome.
Yep.
I be with both of you today, to be in your presence. Two phenomenal people. Thank you so much for the opportunity and the chance to share my voice and to give a piece of my story. Shay Knight Speaks. Shay Knight
Speaks. Well.
Shay Knight Speaks.
Thank you both, because it's been an awakening, like Angela said. But yeah, we spoke about really being meaningful topics today, and I hope everyone listening, watching, wherever you are, I hope you've really enjoyed it as much as me, Angela, and Shay. So thank you, everyone, and it's been really awesome.
It has.
Thank you.